Welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris. We are halfway through the first I don't know, would you call it a trilogy? The Napoleonic Wars, 1805 to 1809. Sorry about the mic, it's a little further away. 1805 to 1809. Sorry, my nose itched. I'm going to cover 1809 to 1811, which is going to be a little longer, and then 1811, 1815. I'm going to be breaking them all down. Somebody, I apologize, I forgot your name. You asked me to do the Russian Revolution. I will be, this is Wednesday. I'm going to record these three today. Well, I'm breaking this down into three parts. I'm going to record these three today, and then I'm going to start the Russian Revolution tomorrow. And then I'll finish that up. So I'm hoping they'll be out next week, which this video won't be out until next week, so it'll be this week. It's the 15th today. 20, so the week of the 20th, which this would be the fourth release. This might be released Wednesday 23rd. I might drop 2 episodes of this. This is a 6-parter. Might drop 2, so this might be a Wednesday morning kind of video. None of this matters to you. I'm just kind of brainstorming in my own head. I apologize for being weird on the camera. I was trying to look at the time. I don't have anything to add. Like and subscribe, that helps. You know. Other than that, I've got a little bit of sugar-free Sprite, and possibly turning into an alcoholic rum and Coke. A little too much rum. It seems to be a problem with me. Too much rum, so you got to drink it down and then get it good and then guzzle it down like a pig. So, without further ado, let's get on with the video and watch me slowly get inebriated.
Alexander and Napoleon met for the first time aboard a raft in the middle of the river Niemen, near Tilsit, and developed an immediate rapport.
I apologize. Sometimes there are, my picture's the top right part of the screen. I can't adjust it without canceling the video and then manually moving because I have a rookie software. And the editing software is rookie and it's not very good. So I can't move it without stopping the video, and I don't want to stop the video because I don't want to do it again. So let's just pretend, and if you have any questions, just rewatch the original video. Link's always in the description.
Tilsit proved to be one of history's great diplomatic summits, as the two emperors feted each other for days, banquets, parades and concerts, then discussed affairs late into the night. A friendship of sorts developed. While Russia's former ally, King Frederick William of Prussia, was left out in the cold.
Oh, you got screwed
and
over.
It was Prussia who would lose most in the treaties of Tilsit, signed 2 weeks later. 1/3 of Prussian territory was taken away to create the new Kingdom of Westphalia, to be ruled by Napoleon's 22-year-old brother Jerome, and the Duchy of Warsaw.
A lot of, is the word I'm looking for nepotism? Is that correct? I could look it up. I'm not going to. If it's wrong, then just pretend that I said the right word.
To be ruled by the King of Saxony, which Polish patriots hoped would prove a stepping stone on the road to their own state. Polish troops were recruited into the Grande Armée, with Polish lancers even forming part of Napoleon's elite Imperial Guard. Russia only had to give up the Ionian Islands, as Alexander accepted an alliance with Napoleon that left the French emperor master of Europe. Alexander even agreed to join the Continental System, Napoleon's economic blockade of Great Britain, which banned British ships and goods from all French-controlled ports. The system had been established the previous winter by Napoleon's Berlin Decree. Napoleon hoped that by cutting off British trade with Europe, he'd cause financial chaos and political upheaval in Britain, allowing him to make a favourable peace. There was just one problem. The Continental System didn't work. Not only was it impossible to enforce and undermine,
shiver me timbers,
and by widespread smuggling, the system damaged French trade just as much as British trade.
I think Thomas Jefferson was in office when this was happening, and I remember he put up a blockade against British. I mean, you know, they were taking impressing sailors, and so he put up a blockade, and it did the exact same thing. It absolutely was garbage. It did not help at all. Actually put the American economy, the young economy, in crisis. But you know, I mean, we're not too far away from the War of 1812, so a lot of stuff is going to happen.
The decisive weapon in this economic war would prove to be the British Royal Navy, which that summer ensured its continued naval dominance by launching a preemptive strike against the neutral Danish fleet at Copenhagen, capturing their warships before they could fall into Napoleon's hands.
Okay, that makes sense.
Royal Navy squadrons blockaded all major French ports, seizing any ships trading with France, while ensuring British merchants could continue to trade overseas in relative safety. The Navy even seized the tiny Danish island of Heligoland as a base for smuggling British goods into Europe. But most disastrously for Napoleon, the Continental System would draw him into two conflicts that proved ruinous for his empire. The first would be fought in the Iberian Peninsula, where Napoleon decided to force Britain's ally, Portugal, to join the Continental System. In November 1807, French troops, supported by their Spanish ally, invaded the country. The Portuguese royal family fled to their colony of Brazil, as the French occupied Lisbon without a fight. It looked as though Napoleon had won yet another easy victory. But the Peninsular War was just beginning.
Power outages happen. Luckily, we have Lycan. With a 4.8 kilowatt-hour capacity, Lycan gives you...
Sorry. I don't pay for the YouTube thing where you can go ad-free. I don't pay for that because I heard that when you do the ad-free, it no longer allows, like this, that ad just played. Now, I don't know if it gives them any generated revenue from any of that, or if I have to let the whole ad play, but I understand that, and I could be wrong, they won't get any ad from you watching that video. Like, there's no chance for them to make money, and so that I don't pay for that. So if anyone's wondering, like, hey, you cheap prick, no, that's why. If I'm wrong, then I'll think differently, but that's just my understanding of it, which I'm sure I'm wrong.
In the autumn of 1807, French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte dominated Europe. He had humbled Austria and Prussia, and sealed an alliance with Russia. Of the major powers, only Britain still defied him, safe from invasion thanks to its powerful navy. Napoleon had ordered all territory.
I would just like to say, I apologize for stopping it. England had some balls. I mean, I know they were a power back in the day, but World War I, World War II, just fighting alone and just standing your ground, like, there's something special to that spirit of just not giving up. And America has that in some aspects, but I see it just as it seems like it's more prideful. May not be the same now, I don't know. But, you know, back then, of course, Europe so locked together, so many wars, so many fighting, so much fighting, so much fighting over sometimes just pointless things. So I apologize. I'll probably pause the video again, but I'll try not to.
Controlled by France or its allies to stop trading with Britain. The so-called Continental System, or blockade, designed to wreck Britain's economy and force its government to make peace. But neutral Portugal had continued to trade with its historic ally Britain. So Napoleon sent an army under General Junot to occupy the country and force it into line. The invasion was supported by France's ally, Spain, though privately Napoleon held Spain's rulers in contempt. The Bourbon royal family was decadent and corrupt. The king and crown prince loathed each other, while the country was effectively run by Chief Minister Manuel Godoy, the Queen's lover. Spain,
Wow.
Napoleon concluded, was backwards, militarily weak and incompetently governed, and he devised a plan to seize control of the country. In the spring of 1808, under the pretext of guarding Spain against the British, French troops took up strategic positions around the country. The Spanish people saw the French military presence as the latest in a long line of humiliations, and held Chief Minister Manuel Godoy responsible. There were riots at the palace of Aranjuez. Godoy was nearly lynched. Napoleon invited the Spanish royal family and Godoy to take refuge in the French city of Bayonne, and sent Marshal Murat and 50,000 troops to restore order in Madrid. But on the 2nd of May 1808, the people of Madrid rose up against Murat's soldiers. It became known as the Dos de Mayo uprising, immortalized by the artist Francisco Goya. This scene shows Mamelukes of Napoleon's Imperial Guard attacked by the citizens of Madrid. 100 soldiers were killed. The French responded ruthlessly, shooting down dozens in the streets and executing more than 100 by firing squad. Meanwhile, in Bayonne, Napoleon forced King Carlos to abdicate and bestowed the title King of Spain on his own brother, Joseph. That summer, as Napoleon forced a new modernizing constitution on Spain, and his brother Joseph entered Madrid as its new king, the Spanish reacted with fury.
Yeah.
The French weren't just arrogant foreigners trampling on their national honor. They were godless atheists who, during the French Revolution, had rejected the Pope and Catholic Church. Napoleon, priests warned the peasants, was the very Antichrist himself. Revolts erupted across the country. The Spanish army was joined by militias and partisans who attacked French troops and killed collaborators. French soldiers carried out savage reprisals. No mercy was shown. The countless atrocities horrified Francisco Goya and led to his famous Disasters of War series. At first, it seemed the French would easily put down the revolt. Girona, Valencia, and Zaragoza were besieged by French troops, while the Spanish army of Galicia was routed by Marshal Bessières at the Battle of Medina del Rio Seco. But 8 days later, as General Dupont and 3 French divisions withdrew from Córdoba, slowed down by wagons piled high with loot, they were surrounded at Bailén by General Castaños' army of Andalusia and forced to surrender. The Spanish took 18,000 French prisoners, about half of whom later died of starvation. Bailén was a humiliation for France.
My back of my chair got caught on one of my shelves, so you got to see some chest hair. I hope you weren't peeking. Apologies.
Her first major defeat since Napoleon became emperor. France's enemies across Europe were delighted. Napoleon was incandescent with fury. The situation went from bad to worse. The Portuguese joined the revolt, while fierce Spanish resistance forced the French to abandon the sieges of Valencia, Girona, and Zaragoza. Spain's new king, Joseph Bonaparte, was even forced to flee the capital. The British assisted the revolt, which the Spanish now called a War of Independence, by shipping weapons to Spain using the Royal Navy. On the 1st of August, a small British army commanded by Sir Arthur Wellesley landed in Portugal to aid their revolt. On the 17th of August, he beat a small French force at Rolissa. Then, 4 days later, beat Junot's main army at the Battle of Vimero. But Wellesley's newly arrived superior, Sir Hugh Dalrymple, then agreed to repatriate Junot and his army to France, with all their arms and plunder, using British ships. In Britain, the generous terms were seen as a disgrace and scandal. A subsequent inquiry exonerated Wellesley, the future Duke of Wellington, but Dalrymple never held command again.
Everywhere where I am,
Napoleon decided the only way to sort out the situation in Spain was to go there himself. He assembled 130,000 reinforcements, including many of his best troops, and on the 7th of November, led a second invasion of Spain. Most Spanish troops were inexperienced, were often badly equipped and led, and their armies had no coherent strategy. They were no match for the Grande Armée, which burst across the Ebro River and inflicted heavy defeats on the Spanish at Burgos and Tudela. At Tudela, Marshal Lannes' Third Corps avenged the defeat at Bailén by smashing the army of General Castaños, sending it fleeing in 2 directions. Napoleon pushed on rapidly. North of Madrid, 8,000 Spanish held the mountain pass at Somosierra. Napoleon, impatient to break through to the capital, ordered forward the Polish Light Horse of the Guard. In an attack of almost suicidal bravery, they charged the Spanish guns head-on and enabled the French to take the pass. 4 days later, after Napoleon threatened to obliterate the city, Madrid opened its gates to his army. Unaware of the disaster engulfing Spanish forces, a 20,000-strong British army, commanded by Sir John Moore, had just arrived in Salamanca after a 300-mile march from Lisbon, with another smaller force en route from Coruña. The British army was inexperienced, but in contrast to most Spanish forces, it was well trained, organized, and led. As news reached Moore of the Spanish collapse, he nevertheless planned to divert French forces by attacking Marshal Soult's isolated Second Corps and threatening Napoleon's communications to Burgos and France. At Sahagun on the 21st of December, the British 15th Hussars advanced overnight through winter frost and made a dawn attack on a French cavalry brigade, routing it in one great charge. But as Moore prepared a full-scale attack on Soult's corps, he received news that Napoleon was advancing rapidly towards him with his main army from Madrid.
Yeah, since I'm just going to stop this here. I don't want to worry about 35 seconds, but I'm going to stop this here before the next battle really kind of kicks in. But I don't know much about Napoleon. Just, I've said this before, he's just no one who's ever really interested me. I've just been more interested in, George Washington, Andrew Jackson, stuff like that. I'm an American, so American history interests me more. But I have a nephew who's just all about Napoleon. I mean, he loves him. He'd marry him. All right, he wouldn't. But it's interesting. He seems to be I've seen military things on him ranking him as the greatest military general of all time. So you don't get that on accident. So, and he seems to be pretty good. I mean, he seems to be the best, I guess you could say. Anyways, I'm going to end this here. Like and subscribe. Epic History TV is a pretty damn good channel. So I'm going to be checking things out from there for a little bit. The channel, let me know. DB Cooper and Roanoke. They have a couple more. I want to do the Jack the Ripper one. So I got a few up my sleeve. So anyways, till next time, we'll go ahead and stop it here, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Have a good night.